Hi, I'm Michael Isikoff, Chief Investigative Correspondent for Yahoo News, and here's our weekly update on what's going on in the Trump impeachment saga. Well, it's showtime. On Tuesday, we got the 300-page report from the House Intelligence Committee on its investigation into President Trump's conduct with the Ukraine. And it is, as expected, a damning document. In the words of the report, and here it is, President Trump placed his own personal and political interests above the national interests of the United States, sought to undermine the integrity of the U.S. presidential election process, and endangered U.S. national security. That last phrase is a reference to the president's cutoff of military assistance to the Ukrainian government to fight Russian aggression. The report goes on further to detail how the president also obstructed Congress's investigation into his own conduct, refusing to allow top officials to testify and turn over documents that were central to the inquiry. Now, much of this story the public already knows. Certainly, we've had the transcript of the phone call in which President Trump couldn't have been clearer. I want you to do me a favor, though, he says to Zelensky, and then pushes him for those investigations. But the report also implicates senior officials in the Trump administration as participating in the pressure campaign. And there's one paragraph that leapt out at me in the executive summary, and I'd like to read it here. Our investigation determined that this telephone call was neither the start nor the end of President Trump's efforts to bend U.S. foreign policy for his personal gain. Rather, it was a dramatic crescendo within a months-long campaign driven by President Trump in which senior U.S. officials, including the Vice President, the Secretary of State, the Acting Chief of Staff, the Secretary of Energy, and others were either knowledgeable of or active participants in an effort to extract from a foreign nation the personal political benefits sought by the president. Think about that. In this executive summary, the House Democrats are implicating Vice President Pence in the very conduct they are saying should be the basis for the impeachment of President Trump himself. But as damning as that language sounds, it could also be President Trump's salvation. Clearly, the Republican Senate is not going to convict President Trump and Vice President Pence, an alleged co-conspirator, and make Nancy Pelosi president. So this may be the very language that is helpful to President Trump. Committee report also emphasizes the unprecedented level of obstruction by the White House in refusing any cooperation at all with the committee's investigation. And the report warns that if this becomes the norm, it essentially eliminates the role of congressional oversight over the executive branch. And that's why, as an institutional matter, the Democrats are going to argue that the obstruction is as important as the core conduct itself. On Wednesday, the House Judiciary Committee will begin its own process of taking testimony from constitutional experts as to what constitutes grounds for impeachment, and then drafting the actual articles of impeachment themselves. There's a debate within the House Democratic caucus as to whether the articles should be strictly about the Ukraine matter or whether it should go broader to include instances of alleged obstruction from the Robert Mueller report and violation of the emoluments clause of the Constitution through the president's retention of his business interests, including the Trump Hotel here in Washington. That's it for now. I'm Michael Isikoff, and be sure to listen to this week's Skullduggery, where we'll be breaking down all details on the committee report, the House Judiciary hearing, and everything else relating to the impeachment saga.